Pop Surf Culture is a coffee table art book written and produced by myself and Domenic Priore.
We had a concept that was different than the commercial surfing world. You know, it's an artistic thing, not a jock thing. And that's the main point of our book.
It was originally published in a more indie edition in 2008 by Santa Monica Press. And now Fantagraphics, the major art book imprint, is issuing a revised edition.
We got the idea down that first time, but this time it's sort of a more resplendent version of it because there's a lot of images and a lot of facts and knowledge that we found that expand the basic concept.
The story is really that of surfing media, surf art, surf fashion, surf filmmaking, surf design, and surf literature, and how surf creativity really became the catalyst to launch this culture internationally.
The artistic thing about surfing that started to happen in the 50s, I mean, there were filmmakers like Greg Knoll, John Severson, and Claude Brown. They were really the first people to capture what surfing was on film. And they brought a certain artistic sense to their filmmaking. And then they hired, like Greg Knoll hired Rick Griffin. And then John Severson ended up creating Surfer Magazine based on what his films looked like. And he hired Rick Griffin, the artist. And then he hired John Van Hamersveld, the artist. And then he hired Mike Salisbury. And those four artists, Severson included, really set the tone for the look and the feel of surfing. If you were to transfer surfing into an art, that's the people who did it.
The surfer aesthetic became the paradigm from which everything else grew, whether it was like all the album covers by the Beach Boys and the Lively Ones, or those early 60s surfing comps, or the other surf magazines, or the hundreds of independent surf docs and surf posters that came out in that time. Like, in some way, John Severson was the Pied Piper, and it was really nice to be able to put him at the center of the book and show his influence.
One of the things for the new book, Bill Ogden, he was a really great 70s psychedelic surf artist. But we found a poster he did in the 60s for the band The Sandals, who did the Endless Summer soundtrack. And this poster for a gig at a high school gym, that just kind of says it all. You could see early surfing and you could see the more psychedelic surfing all in one spot.
The focus of the first edition was a collection of kind of essential surf product, like surfing books or surf albums. But this time around, we got deeper into some of the subculture and the biographies of the creators themselves.
Brian, he used to be a baseball card collector when he was young, and he found some sports cards of Duke Hanamaku from the early 20th century. Really makes you feel like you could reach out and grab the early era of surfing.
This is a chance maybe to bring some awareness to the Hawaiian contribution. I think we all know that surfing originated in Hawaii, but we don't really pay close attention to the way in which the stock Hawaiian surfer of early surf advertising and media and postcards quickly gets replaced by the blonde-haired, blue-eyed California surfer by the 1940s and 50s. And so examining how and why that happened and what can be done to kind of right some of those wrongs, I think is an important component of the new book.
I was buying Hawaiian shirts a lot at thrift stores in the early to mid 80s. And I found this one with the logo Tiki Surfah, S-U-R-F-A-H. And it was just so primitive. And I thought that aesthetic made a very good title for a chapter about how surfing was a sort of a religious experience almost in Hawaii. The original kings of Hawaii had the best surf spots. There's a place called the Place of Refuge in the Big Island. It's where these people all surfed. So I managed to kind of trace surfing's roots to the original surfers the guys who rode Olo boards and their relationship to tikis. And it's not just, a fabricated thing in the 60s, like that crummy logo, which is a great crummy logo, but it was a real thing that the gods of surfing in the original days, the original kings, did that.
There's always been a bit of controversy when it comes to championing the beach party movies, because actual surfers and surf athletes consider that genre to be an affront to their lifestyle. And of course, we take it in a more historical approach, in that it was a phenomenon that happened that shouldn't be overlooked. And also, Domenic and I have a pretty deep appreciation of the beach party genre, not necessarily for its plot or its high-end movie making, but more generally because of the kind of fetishistic and homoerotic elements that are embedded in it, which are probably one of the reasons why surfers are offended by the beach party genre. They capture all of the teen and rock and roll SoCal vernacular culture in the kind of most wild and bacchanalian way possible.
We got forwards from the original Gidget, Kathy Kohner, whose father wrote the book Gidget. And then the other person we got was Billy Al Bankston, a major LA pop artist who just happened to be a surfer around the time Gidget was a surfer and knew Gidget at Malibu during the 50s.
I should say that there were probably a handful of geniuses within the surfing subgenre of art and design. Probably most prominent among them would be Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, but also Rick Griffin and the underground surf filmmaker George Greeno, who created two kind of monumental, almost Kubrick-like surf documentaries within that genre, the second one being soundtracked by Pink Floyd, and then kind of disappeared into obscurity and worked on a documentary where he was surfing with dolphins for 35 years or something.
As soon as the book was handed in and closed and shut down, Brian and I thought of 2 or 3 punk rock things that are really important, because we talk about punk rock and its relationship to surf. Punk rock accepted surf instrumental music, whereas the hippies kind of dismissed surf music in a way. What we just plain old forgot was that Johnny Thunders, with the Sex Pistols, cut a version of Pipeline, like in 1978 or something like that. And then I found, a day or two later, Charlotte Caffey of the Go-Go's, who wrote Surfin' and Spyin' that the Go-Go's did, and then the Ventures quickly covered. She did a little promo picture with her surfing, and then another one of her spying with a spy outfit on, and with a picture sleeve, and it's all oh man.
In the final analysis, thing I'm most proud of is that I think this edition shows definitively that it was the bohemian version of surf in the 1940s and 50s in both California and Hawaii that was really repackaged and kind of amplified and maybe even phantasmagorized into the 60s pop culture. But its roots are unmistakably bohemian and beatnik in their origin. And I think that this version doesn't pull any punches in that regard.